life support capsule to the area.
So, Zephyr was going to be the next video, but there's been some slander lately on the TikToks and the YouTubes, but good old boy Qorvex, and I figured it was time to put a rest to that. So here we are. Alright, so right off the bat, we got Qorvex's passive. Additional +3 meters, by the way, is what that is measured in. It doesn't say it for some reason. Punch through on any weapon he uses. Simple, straight to the point, has nothing really to do with his theme or the rest of his kit at all, but it's there. It has a slight synergy with this one, but we'll get into that. Moving on, we got the Arcane pillar. He throws down his big stone pillar. He can have two of them. They shoot out a circle of radiation pulses. These pulses both inflict the enemies with radiation and slow, generally making this by itself a crowd control system. So what you notice is we get a slow here. Everyone starts going slow. They'll start fighting each other because of the rad procs. Not a whole lot of damage by itself. If you hit them with another ability, they will start to pulse out faster. Another thing you can do, if you actually hit a guy with it, you trigger him up for a ground finisher. That can be helpful if you have a Arcane or something that synchronizes off your finishers. Kind of a common thing with a lot of Qorvex's abilities. It's not entirely consistent though, the ground finishers. Alright, you already kind of saw it in there, but next up's containment wall. Make two walls, smash them together. Typically this is a grouping ability to put everyone into a straight line and keep them together. You get a little bit of damage over time, you get some damage vulnerability, you can augment it for armor strip as well. So yeah, typically we will take a big group of dudes like this, and we'll just sandwich them all together. Works very nicely with this punch through passive to do that. I also notice it sometimes leaves them open to finishers. So if you're running a kind of like the Arcane pillars, but more consistent, if you are running a finisher-based build, you'll be able to build up your finisher stuff very quickly and get your arcane trickeries or ultimatums or your melee crescendos or whatever else you want. Everyone's most hated Qorvex ability. Not because it's not decent, although practically speaking, it's these little rocks running in. So this will block, you can see the number down the bottom right, a certain number of status effects from affecting you. It also applies to your teammates as well. No one really likes the visual for it, of course, which is a big thing. Also, there's a lot of Warframe abilities out there with status immunities. We'll just grab these guys. And they have status immunity plus another effect. So you can see I'm not getting blasted or lit on fire or anything else here, or energy drained. Or hit by the heat proc of that Jade Light, though it is damaging me. Biggest thing with that is there's so many frames with Overguard or even Warding Halo. Anaris' Scarab Armor, they get status immunity plus something else. Anaris gets bonus armor, Nessa gets damage reduction, and a little heat aura, and so on. So there's a lot to be said comparatively that this is a very kind of weak ability on its own in its own class. If I pull up some more guys here for you, I'll put them back on pause for a second. When you cast it near guys, it does push them away too, but that's basically pointless. I don't know why you'd ever care about that part. So yeah, if you're gonna helmet Qorvex, this is probably the one you helmet. It'll be this one or the containment wall, one of the two. Again, it's useful, but it's not good compared to any comparative similar ability. Alright, the star of the show. Infamously the one that D is very, very poor at explaining. See how nothing here mentions any kind of synergy? It just says that enemies affected by radiation explode in a chain reaction, which means it would synergize, but you can get radiation from all over the place. You'll notice over in tips here, 1 second, talks about his health and armor, talks about empowering the pillars, the pulses don't go through walls. And it says to put the radiation around. The thing this does not tell you, because if you just do this, it's not terrible in and of itself, at least on these, but it doesn't, you'll notice it doesn't get the big guys. They are still well and truly here. DE didn't tell anyone that if you do this, everything in that circle gets absolutely owned by every hit of the laser. Still won't kill these guys. Obviously, you may have noticed that. Now, if you want to kill the heavy gunners, you need to. Oh, sorry. Technical issues. If you want to kill the tanky guys with the crucible beam, which you don't need to, specifically, but basically you do want them actually grouped up so that you can hit them like that. The other funny thing here is if you get all of the enemies have the same hit points, so that some of them aren't dying earlier than others. This is a thing he shares kind of with Sevagoth. If you get all the enemies together with the same hit points, so none of them die early and they all keep exploding on each other, then you get that. So yeah, Qorvex scale, and this does not scale very well with ability strength at all. It scales more specifically with the enemy density and trying to keep as many enemies within next to each other with as many of the big ones as possible. You can supplement that by building for range, because that increases the range of the explosions and you don't have to put them as close together. But broadly speaking, it does not scale with ability strength in any real way. On to the build. There we go. So, building Qorvex. Couple of important things. Qorvex is a health and armor tank, other than his generally reliable crowd control. He does have his thing that prevents him from taking damage over time, essentially. That's very helpful and also stops him getting any kind of viral or corrosive proc that might make his armor and health less effective. So, if you want your Qorvex to survive, particularly if the things can't be confused by the radiation, you are going to need to put some investment into your health and armor. You can try and shield gate it out, but I don't know if he's really spammy enough for that. Anyways, so we got Stand United increasing our armor to extreme amounts. We've got the triple umbrals. I remember I said that you don't want a lot of strength for his 4. It really doesn't matter. I've seen people with negative strength doing that trick where you kill all the corrupted heavy gunners, which does work on Steel Path if you saw the challenge I did on TikTok from a viewer. But the strength helps you over here with Wrecking Wall particularly, and to some extent the damage vulnerability effect of Containment Wall. Again, you can see it's not a lot of damage vulnerability. Sevagoth can get up to like 300%. So that will give you a lot of ability to handle armor and shield. So we got the triple umbrals. Again, if you don't have the triple umbrals, you probably don't have Qorvex, because he comes from a quest area after the sacrifice. But should you happen to have bought Qorvex, or you're going to buy Qorvex as a result of this video, I'd love to give you a referral code, but I don't think that's a thing, and I don't have one if it is. Just supplement in the regulars, but keep in mind you'll probably want to switch these up to the proper versions later. Whatever you do, do not use Precision Intensify, because that's basically throwing power strength down the drain. In here, you can see we got stretch overextended. Like I said in the previous bit, range is your best help to actually make his 4 scale constantly without adding additional grouping powers. Even if you were to helmet the grouping power on, you'd probably still want the range so you could pull the people in with pull or larva or whatever the heck you want to use, air burst. Adaptation, of course, is an extra layer of DR on top of his armor DR. It also affects what little shields he has, so that can keep him moving pretty fast. We do have Arcane Battery that turns our armor into energy. We don't actually have that maxed out because you would need like 4,000 armor, but we can actually get higher armor. You'll see that in a second with our build, but generally speaking, we got lots of energy. We got 867. You could, even if you wanted to, run Blind Rage in here. The thing is, it doesn't have a whole lot of use because he doesn't scale off power directly. It will cause this one to kill off fodder a little more easy. We got Arcane Grace. If you don't have this, the second best option would probably be... let me think. Okay, I thought, but probably Arcane Guardian would be my second choice. In itself, not super common. By the time you get to Qorvex, you will unlock the ability to dissolve arcanes, to buy random packs of arcanes as well. So you're not going to be completely out in the cold trying to get these. Arcane Guardian's probably going to be your next best version of survivability. Kind of down near the bottom, you've got Molt Reconstruct, which will at least heal you periodically from any chip damage you happen to be taking. There are other ways to heal yourself, one of which is built into the kit, a couple of others which are accessible via the operator and things like that as well. Moving over to the Arcane Shards. I have these red ones in here just kind of pushing the break point for Wrecking Wall to be 100% strip. You could fiddle around with the build, like if you want to try that Blind Rage thing, you won't need the red shards. Sorry about that. But, and then the other thing is to go all in on these orange shards. So I said that ability strength doesn't scale his 4. These orange shards, they do scale his 4. Basically, these act like a roar or a faction multiplier on his laser because anything he's hitting is going to be affected by radiation status. If not on the first tick, sure as heck on the second tick. So, shoving these orange shards, if you put all 5 Tau Forged ones in there, you would just be getting a 75% final multiplier on the damage he deals. That is basically where he scales into the everything's dead land. On here, some other things, recon effects. I like giving Qorvex big machine guns. I used to use them with the Trumna. I gave him the recon effects now instead to play around with it. Still mean to do a video on the recon effects. One big problem I will say with the recon effects, its unique trait here where you do the perfect reload for the heat damage. That will fall off constantly if you are using any of the synth mods or the other reload while holstered mods and you do a quick melee or pick up a data pack or sometimes hacking because it switches to the pairs on and finishers. Will constantly cause that to fall off because your gun immediately reloads in the background and loses that heat buff. Still, it's a fairly nice machine gun. It reloads basically instantly because of that buff, but yeah, if you are using any of these mods... Where is it? Yeah, any synth mods, particularly this very popular one that's used for a great deal of healing and energy sustain across the board, pretty much. This is in almost every animal or pet build you'll ever see. It breaks the recon effects. It also breaks Cyto 9's reloading thing. The wave goodbye or the goodbye wave. I haven't been hard to really change that. This again has nothing really to do with Qorvex. Here's a build for a catch moon. Voila. It's pretty effective. If you see me using it in the mission and you want to know what it was, that's what it is. You can see the parts to make the kick gun at the top right there. Just pause the video. Arcane. Not technically Qorvex's signature thing, but you do get it from the Sanctum, the same place you get Qorvex. The Arcane, again, I kind of gave it to him because it was in the same area. I was like, oh cool, I'll give him the hammer, why not? This is a slam blast build. You jump, you slam the hammer, everything dies. Potentially everything explodes in case it didn't die on the start. I've got a couple of things I've got this set for is movement speed on that heavy attack slam, and life strike. When I slam dudes, it heals me. Basically for my entire health. I do have melee duplicate too because that can duplicate the melee. It's kind of off and on because this can cause too high of a crit. Another thing you can do in here is melee fortification if you just want to have Qorvex's armor go up a little more while you're healing, basically giving you almost an Arcane Reaper effect. Then you can use that one as well. He's not terrible with melee exposure. And then the other one that you might want to do sometimes is... You can do that one as well, but that it's kind of iffy, I've found. And the melee crescendo you can do because he can inflict finishers, but it's not really my preferred playstyle. We got Zenrik. Qorvex can be a bit of an energy hungry boy, and I couldn't find a spot to put Hunter Adrenaline in here. Your mileage may vary on that. You don't necessarily need to run Wrecking Wall. You notice I didn't have to when I was just zapping everything, so you could pull that out and put Hunter Adrenaline in, or Equilibrium for more energy. My dog is a dog. This is probably about the most standard dog build you could possibly find. But there you go, there it is. So if you found this informative, we're going to go show you some Steel Path in a second here, but if you don't want to hang out for that sort of live fire how to do it walkthrough.
The worst part about this shithole? Weak coffee.
Drop a like, consider subscribing for more. Zephyr should be next, and then after that I think they'll have put out the list of whoever the least used Warframe is. My bet's on Dagath, and we'll probably do a video on them. Why Dagath? Because Dagath's acquisition method is just not something you'll find unless you actually are already looking for Dagath. Almost every other Warframe drops off a quest, or at least a random loot drop somewhere. Dagath is like this weird mission you have to specially open that doesn't actually even show on the star chart. So I'm betting Dagath's going to be the lowest one. Anyways, thanks for watching. We're going to hop over into a mission to do kind of a gameplay walkthrough. And if you don't watch that, we'll see you in the next one. If not, we'll see you in just a second. Alright, welcome to the Steel Path.
Cold, toxin, and electricity. The elemental forces.
We had a nice alchemy alert up and running. So I'm not doing this in 1999 because 1999 you have like 18,000 passive buffs you start to accumulate, which would give a very weird, not particularly good indication of how the Warframe actually plays. And see where we landed in the start. We dropped our Zenrik fairly quickly. See, we're not gonna have too much trouble. I'm shooting these guys with like my not good gun actually. This is without getting into the big nuke.
Adversaries have taken Papa's ampoules. Be a dear and repatriate them. This crucible craves heat and electricity. Together.
So if I can actually find a group of goods big enough to be worth blasting here. You can see the Steel Path. Again, the edges, because of the density thing, are what's really going to usually catch you. It's nice when they line up in a hall, so you can just do it this way.
Throw the elemental ampoules at the crucible. Well, go
Nothing too complicated here. I will say the Sanctum is probably the best place to show off Qorvex, because everything here is weak to radiation. So, a little mindful of that, but not terribly. Yep, you can already see we got a round of alchemy done here.
Manage the venting system to keep
I'm
pressure
gonna put a
within
cut
the
in here and I'll pop
desired
back
range.
if the acolyte shows up.
You feel the need to withdraw the path
So yeah,
to
I skipped the
sanctum.
kind of boring part, standing around shooting vents. We've got an acolyte on our way though, so Malice. I don't know where Malice is.
The crucible creates blast force. Gather heat.
Probably by the guy at
and
the
control
yeah,
outputs.
this way. Excuse me, I'm coming to visit you. That's a slash gun, so it's not super effective. That's one thing I will say, Qorvex is not great at single targets. He wants a pile of enemies. If Malice was standing in the middle of a bunch of dudes, I'd been able to nuke him instantly. Or her instantly, I'm not sure on that one. But yeah. As you can see, I'm not getting smacked to death, despite people telling you health tanks don't exist. I generally do not have any difficulty killing anything, even when not specifically using my big nuke. So yeah, I don't know where the whole Qorvex is bad thing this trend has suddenly emerged. I just know I saw like 3 videos and some shorts and a bunch of crap on TikTok about it, so I was like, that's like a Qorvex video, because I think people were picking up on a trend that I don't, was probably started by someone who doesn't know how his 4 works or something. So maybe it was due time, and it's been like a year since Qorvex came out, so we needed a fresh video to show him off. If you're trying to get Qorvex, you will want to have access to this area, the Sanctum, and then you typically will do bounties, or you can buy his blueprints
If I may, do not.
from someone else around here as well. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hopefully this inspires you to give our good old brick reactor boy a chance. We will see you in the next one. And remember to like or subscribe or drop a comment if you got any extra tips. Till then, have a good one and enjoy your weekend.